All right, so we're going to talk about the study of populations in ecology. So remember, populations is just multiple individuals of the same species. So we're talking about the same species, and we're tracking how population grows or doesn't grow. So population growth is affected by three things. The first thing is, or one of the things is the birth rate. So if you have more offspring, then you would expect to have a larger population. Death rate is another. And then last, so obviously as people get older and they die, you would expect to have a lower population. And then also we have immigration and emigration. So immigration is the movement to a population, so move to a population, so that adds population, and then emigration is to move away from. So it decreases the size of the population. All right, so we have something called exponential growth, and so if you're given a population unlimited resources, you would expect exponential growth, and so it would look something like this, where it starts kind of slow, but it ramps up really quickly. Here we have an example. These are bacteria cells. So bacteria cells double, and so you would start with 1, but then 2, 4. So you can kind of see it starts pretty slow, but you get to 8, and then 16, and then 32, 64. You can see how it ramps up because every cell starts duplicating. However, exponential growth is something that can't last for long. Why? Because eventually you're going to run out of resources, right? Like land and food and water and that kind of stuff. So what really happens is what's called logistic growth, and so you can see here you have exponential growth, and then it slowly kind of tapers off as it reaches what we call carrying capacity. So carrying capacity is the largest number of individuals that a habitat can support. So it's like the maximum number of that can fit in a particular habitat, and that's based off of resources and that kind of stuff. So at some point, there's not enough food or water or what have you, or habitat, and so there's a particular maximum number which we call carrying capacity. So what are these things that limit carrying capacity? They're called limiting factors, and they're factors that cause population to decrease. There are two types. One is density dependent, and the one's density independent. And so density dependent factors limits when the population density reaches a certain level. So some examples would be like disease, and it's dependent on the density of the population. So disease will spread more rapidly if the population is really, really dense. If you imagine, if you're really close to somebody else, it's easy to catch their cold or flu, what have you, but if you're farther away from each other, you're less dense, it's harder for that disease to spread. And so other things are like predation, like predator-prey, parasitism, like parasites can be transferred more easily if they're in close if you're in close quarters. And then there are things that affect the population, even doesn't matter how far apart you are or close, it still affect, like natural disasters like fires will just wipe out populations, or flooding or that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter if you're far or close, you're still going to be affected, right? Some human activity can also cause this, like deforestation, removing of all forests, that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter if they're close or far, it's still going to affect everybody.